We're Laura and Cindy, and you're listening to the Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry podcast, where we talk about natural horsekeeping and deepening your connection with your horse. I'm Laura, your horse care mentor. I teach natural horse management practices after working with over 200 horses and seeing how current industry standards are compromising the health of the horse.
And I'm Cindy, your horsemanship mentor, offering a proven and unique approach to creating deep connections with your horses from 20 plus years of experience, including working with wild Mustangs. If you enjoy this conversation, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to us so we can get this podcast into the ears of more passionate horse people. Today we have a very special horseman with us. I met him back in 2007. Many of you have heard our stories about Gino. And I met Don Jessup hosting a Parelli Natural Horsemanship Clinic with he and his wife, Rachel. They're both very skilled horse people. And he helped me with Gino. I had just gotten Gino at the very beginning, and I think he was the first one to recognize that Gino was probably more troubled than we realized and cautioned me to take it slow. And fast forward to 2026, and he has been on quite a journey of his own. And we're going to let him share that journey with us. It's pretty fascinating. Hey, Don, how you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Wow.
So tell us about yourself.
Oh, well. Should we start at birth or a few years afterwards? I I'm kidding. I met you, yeah, 2007. That's wild.
Yeah.
And back in 2000, I joined Parelli. It's probably 2001. I joined Parelli. And prior to that, I was just a kid on a horse. Me and my best friend, we did endurance racing together. We loved the long rides and the novelty of new places. I think I did one race in Salt Lake on the Antelope Island, I think was my fastest race. I did 50 miles in 4 hours and 15 minutes. And there's something so cool about riding an athlete like that and really going places and competing. But then I ran into a horse named Prince. Actually, for you guys, you can see the video here, but that's Prince on the wall there.
Ah,
He's an Arabian that was extremely talented. I mean, so powerful and so athletic and so sweet, but also kind of a runaway and too much horse for me at my stage in my learning. So for the first time, I decided I better learn more than I know. So I started studying. I met a guy named Monty Roberts, and I bought all of his programs. I went to one of his seminars, and I loved it. I ended up starting a couple of horses for myself, and I loved the learning process. And then I met a guy named John Lyons, who was even more video content than Monty Roberts had. He had hours and hours and hours of video content that you could get. And so I watched all of his stuff. And then I met Pat Parelli after that. And Pat had a flair for fun and games that I was really attracted to. So I ended up studying with him and went to his classes in Colorado. It was a 6 week long class that I took, and ultimately I didn't want to go home. I think I was 21, 22 years old, and I just didn't want to go home. And I asked the head of instructors there if I could stay. And they're like, "Well, how much money do you have?" And I'm like, "None, $0." And they invited me to work and occasionally attend some of the classes. So I took the job as a working student. They basically didn't pay me anything but room and board, and then allowed me to attend classes. So I was a happy camper for a couple of years actually doing that. I worked with them at their campuses and then on tour. And that was where I really began, I could say I began my education. I got to ride around the world with Pat and Linda and watch them work with all kinds of different horses and people and challenges. And I kind of got addicted to that type of teaching more so than colt starting. I liked the teaching more than the riding the horses. So
For clarity,
uh,
you mean the teaching of the people.
yeah, I
Yeah.
like the crowds and not so much. I'm not so much a public figure. I don't love big crowds, but I just love the people and the connections and the smile on someone's face when they learn something and they figured it out. That became really, really attractive to me. And the horses were kind of a vehicle to experience those things for me. And some of my colleagues, they went down the horse training route, and they're wonderful horse trainers. But they spend their days with horses, where I spend my days with people, and that was always something that was attractive to me. Around 2005, I married Rachel, met her there at the Colorado campus, and we got married, and then 2007, when we had our daughter there, we were starting to slowly fade. We were still working full time with Parelli. And then we moved away to Montana and still taught Parelli courses where we met you, Cindy. And then over the next few years, we slowly started teaching. We still called them Parelli courses, but I noticed we were teaching them in a different format. Parelli has this game, these 7 games format, where you teach the friendly game and the porcupine game and the driving game. And you kind of start and follow through those 7 games in a sequence. And I just slowly figured out over the course of many, many clinics, teaching many people with a variety of skill sets, the sequence was wrong. And it wasn't the methods so much as the sequence,
Mm.
if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Pirelli methods are awesome. They're great. I love the program. It got me to my black belt in horsemanship, so to speak. It really gave me a great foundation. But from a teaching, if I bring it back to the teaching side, the people side, I recognized the sequence was wrong. And I started teaching it with boundaries first instead of bonding first. Because so many people were getting in trouble with their horse. They had horses that were lovely and sweet, except for when they weren't. And then they had no tools to help them become more, better partner in their relationship. So I started teaching these Pirelli clinics, but with the games all messed up and twisted around for a different effect, and ultimately had much, much better results. And students came away happier with horses that were happier. And and then over the course of, I don't know, 2010 or 11, I started to say, I'm not really teaching Pirelli anymore. I'm kind of teaching my own thing. And I wrote a book called Leadership and Horses, and then followed that up with a couple of other books. And at the time, as a Pirelli licensed Pirelli instructor, we had a contract to either give them all of our content that we create licensed to Pirelli, the company, or I could kind of go out on my own and keep the content for myself. And so I did. My wife had left the Pirelli Corporation a couple of years earlier. She was busy raising a child and doing her thing. It took me a little bit longer, but ultimately we decided to go out on our own. We do still teach all the time, but it's more in the style that I like, that I feel like is the most effective for the student. Horses vary, but students can learn in a sequence that I think is really, really effective, regardless of the horse, and that's kind of what we teach.
Ready to unlock true freedom with your horse? Join Unbridled Freedom, our private Facebook group for women on a spiritual journey in horsemanship. We don't fix our horses, we transform ourselves. This is your space to embrace challenges, celebrate victories, and deepen your bond with your horse. If you're ready to lead with wisdom, compassion, and inner peace, join us today. Let's dance with our horses as one. The link is in the show notes below. So, we connected in 2007,
Mm-hmm.
and then I kind of saw you guys on Facebook and, watched your baby girl growing up and you guys both writing books and, living life. Um, I hadn't really realized that you had made a shift until I want to say it was 2018.
Mm-hmm.
We reconnected because I saw your new program, Mastery Horsemanship. And I was like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on? And
Mm.
so I reached out to you and we had a long conversation one day. And you were explaining to me your personal journey, not as a horse, well, maybe as a horseman, but not as a teacher or
Mm.
a horse trainer, but you had gone through your own personal transformation that really changed how you show up for everybody. And I thought it was fascinating. Do you remember it?
Well, the timing, I don't remember exactly, but I do remember the windows in time. So there's two thoughts that are memories that are crossing my mind. One is I can tell you the story about a horse that changed my life, a different horse. His name was Frontier. And then I can tell you of a personal journey related to burnout that made me really, really rethink everything I'm doing. Then maybe they're tied together in a weird kind of way.
The story that you shared with me was your burnout and
Mm,
how it had ultimately guided you in a stronger direction of being more people, um, more
yeah.
of a coach for people. But I don't know about you, Laura. I'd love to hear about Frontier
Yes.
and the burnout.
So Frontier was a horse that was given to me by Pat and Linda Parelli when they were dissolving their horse lease program, and students from all over the world would come and ride their horses that they had on campus there, and they decided it wasn't worth the money to keep them. So they were dissolving the program, and they had 30 or 40 horses, and Frontier was one of them. And he was kind of famous because Pat had done some imprinting videos with him, and he was one of the kids from one of the stallions he had. He's a beautiful paint horse, brown and white paint horse, and he he was a bucker. His mama was a bucker. His mama was some rodeo champ that Pat picked up and decided to rehab, and his dad was a bronc as well, extraordinarily talented bronc horse that Pat never really truly mastered. And he would use this stallion Casper for all kinds of demonstrations like Liberty and one he was brilliant, had so much
Casper,
presence.
Casper was
But
pretty famous back in
yeah, but he was a bronc and Pat never
the.
liked to ride him. And so he'd take him on tour, but he would always ride his mare Magic and work on the ground with Casper. And I watched him ride Casper many times, but it was always guarded. Pat was really, really guarded about it. And it was because he got hurt many times on that horse. He was extremely talented, but when he decided it was no time to have a rider on his back, he was very adamant about dismounting you. And Casper and this mare named Mayday, I believe. Nope, it was Cheyenne. Cheyenne had a baby named Frontier. And Frontier kind of became famous with the full imprinting video. And then several really top-notch instructors worked with Frontier up until he was about 5 years old when I acquired him. And they did a great job, man. You could get flying lead changes on this horse. You could do bridleless riding on this horse, or you could get thrown and break your neck. Like it was really that same mentality as Casper. And he did throw me a couple of times. And and it really made me tune into the signals before a horse does something bad. And it probably does tie into the burnout because I can remember not enjoying riding anymore.
Mhm.
I can remember noticing tiny little details, and I still notice them today. Tiny details that nobody else could see that tells me this is heading in the wrong direction. And you couldn't read those details before. I couldn't read those details before. I just get on and the horse looked like it was all green lights and everything's good. We're gonna be fine. And then he would throw you away and it seemed like it was out of the blue. But when you get hurt, especially head trauma, you start looking for what is it that triggered this, that then triggered this, and then this, like what happened before what happens.
Right.
And I became so tuned into that, so tightly wound about the tiniest details. It just became not fun. Ignorance is bliss in a way. You
Mhm.
can kind of just go for a trail ride and cross your fingers, everything works out, and probably it does because it has the last 100 times. But a horse like Frontier, you couldn't do that. You had to pay attention. You had to watch every detail, and there was no training him out of it. That was one of the big blinding flashes of the obvious as a trainer that you learn. As a young trainer, you think every horse can do everything. And it's kind of true. It's just some horses will take a short amount of time to learn, and some horses will take a long time to learn. It's kind of true that every horse can do everything, but some horses will keep their innate characteristics through their entire life. It can be, we just put a horse down. His name was Dreamy, and he was 28-year-old Arabian, and he was brilliant in so many ways, but he had one little flaw that always remained, despite all the training and hours we poured into this one specific problem to get him over it. It just hung in there. And we would use everything from our natural training to our more normal traditional styles of training to clicker training to reward training to every single passive and assertive methods to get this horse to just be like chill about this one tiny thing. And he never let it go. And you learn over time to let go of some of those things because they're just not a big deal. Like this is we're making a mountain out of a molehill. This is not a safety issue. I can just let this go. But you learn that horses do hang on to things. And when I realized that Frontier was never going to become trained, quote unquote, to the point where a child could trust him, uh, it started to open my eyes like this is more of a relationship thing than it is a fix it and be done with it kind of issue. What is what's the value of a horse anyway? Like we don't need them for driving a cart or getting across the country. We're using them for our own purposes on an emotional level now. So maybe we should make it about the relationship instead of the end result. So a big part of that was starting to coalesce in my mind, and I'm watching myself just not enjoying riding anymore because it's too much involved in just staying alive on this horse. I ultimately let that horse go, which was good for me because I was just burning out fast. That changed the way I saw horses' experiences with people. When I noticed the stress in him on a really minor level and what it led to on a macro level, I started not liking seeing it. When you see a horse stressed, it's not cool. Like some people are, I remember growing up with a kid that was 100% cowboy, and he would laugh when a horse was in stress. He would laugh when a horse was bothered by the flies. He's like, sucks to be you. You know, you're my tool, so be a good tool. And it always kind of bothered me a little bit. But then watching it and the tiny details and recognizing that they're stressed a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm here trying to get something from them. What am I trying to get? What am I actually trying to get from the horse? And it started to feel more like a slave owner relationship than a carefree, happy-go-lucky, let's go ride together on the trails dog human owner kind of relationship, kind of playful. It started to feel like a little bit more like a mandated relationship where the horse had to be perfect rather than just be expressive, because being expressive suddenly wasn't very safe for me. And my brain started to connect these dots like, I don't know, this is just not cool anymore.
Hmm.
I remember in one clinic I said, I was reprimanded for it, not harshly, but one of my clients came up to me and said, maybe you shouldn't say that in your clinic. But I said, and I was kind of being playful, but in the middle of the clinic, I said, if you knew what I knew about horses, you would probably never ride again. And it's hinting at the stress that's hidden.
Mhm.
It's hinting at the little subtle signs where the horse says, I didn't agree to this. And no part of me that signed up for this. You've taken me from everything I would like and appreciate and put me in an environment that I didn't choose. And now you're demanding all these results from me. It didn't feel good. It just stopped feeling good. And that created quite a bit of burnout for me. I would teach because I needed to, because I had to put food on the table for me and my family, but I didn't feel good teaching even because what am I doing? I'm teaching people to get on their horse.
Yeah,
So
you're teaching
it
them to
was,
get what they want out of it.
yeah. And I looked at their horse. I'm like, he doesn't want you on his back. And I'm teaching you to get on his back. That's weird. It was a weird, funky little time. It wasn't in a little time. It was several years. And it was kind of hazardous for me and my family because uh, we were losing clients, and not because we weren't serving them, but just because I didn't want to get new ones. I didn't want to press. I didn't want to go the extra mile. Um, I don't know. It's a tough time to explain. I just really did
Well,
not feel.
you had that inner conflict.
Mhm.
You knew that you do what you did because you loved horses, and now all of a sudden you're really really good at it, and you've gotten so good that you're seeing through the eyes of the horse, and you're
Yeah.
recognizing that it truly, no matter how we try to code it and make it okay, it's so often a one-way street.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, that's a hard place when you've got that going on internally. How do you, yeah, I can't imagine showing up and continuing to do what you were doing, knowing what you now know.
Yeah, and you feel a little bit like a fraud. You're out there in the middle of a class with 10 other people and they're looking up to you as this person. They're inspired to be like you. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, I don't even want to get on my horse when I go home. I don't want to ride. I don't. And here I am inspiring you to ride, but I don't want to ride. It felt like inner conflict at its best, yeah. And it did take a toll.
How did you find your way through it?
Well, I'd like to say that I am all the way through, but I'm not. I still wrestle with those things, but I do have a much lighter outlook on it. Uh, I go fishing. That helps me, which is ironic because it has nothing to do with horses. But fishing is one of those same kind of exchanges where the fish didn't choose this activity. And I can sense I don't like the feeling of taking the hook out of the fish and hoping that it's going to survive. But it takes me back to a more natural human environment relationship experience where it's okay, it's safe. We do the best we can to make sure the animals are safe and unharmed. But if I take it away completely, it goes in the wrong direction no matter what happens. If I take away, if I stop seeking some middle ground of balance and I get really extreme towards not riding or not fishing or not anything, um, it's not healthy. Like I can become really unhealthy. Like you shouldn't ride your horse because it's hurting your horse and they didn't choose this and it's slavery. Okay. let's keep going down that path. Should you have a dog? Well, they didn't choose it, and you're making them do things, and you have a neck collar around them all the time to make sure that they behave appropriately. Okay, should you have kids? Like, how far can you, is it okay to put your kids in school? They didn't choose to go to school. And, and should we, like, we just bump into people in life and we cause problems in life. And to be so extreme that I don't ever want to cause any kind of problem or harm becomes unhealthy in its own way. Like over time, I started to realize I can't be this sensitive to it. I can watch a horse under stress and breathe now, where
Mm.
before it'd almost take my breath away. Like, this is not okay. Absolutely not okay. This hurts me watching them go through something stressful. But, having a kid and watching her go through school and go through learning curves and take jobs and lose jobs and these types of things, you start realizing the stress is okay. Stress isn't harmful. And the precursors to the signals to stress aren't harmful. When my horse is stressed now, I don't I know what it can lead to, and it's definitely a great time to step in and make sure it doesn't lead to those things. But it also doesn't need to take me into a space where I'm like, I can't do this. This is too much pain for me to watch them in a stressful manner.
Well, isn't
And
it kind of like, I mean, stress is inherent. We're going to have it in life. It's how we teach our horses and our children and ourselves to handle that stress
yeah,
that really makes the difference of if we have a peaceful life or not.
yeah, yeah, it is inherent. And you know that on some level, you wrestle with it on some level, and I think that's safe and natural. But to make an extreme, which I was doing during my burnout phase. Like I was highlighting the stress as really hard. It
Mhm.
was hard for me to see, hard for me to witness. And it became like I can't do this anymore. I was looking for other jobs. Like I got to find a way to put food on the table. There's got to be some other way than working with horses. And then, as time goes by, I meet this wonderful dolphin trainer from Discovery Cove SeaWorld in Florida, and she owns horses, and so I'm working with her as a client, and she works with the dolphins as well. And and we start getting deeper and deeper into horsemanship conversations, and she tells me one day, she says, I don't know how you do it. She says the way people treat their horses and the stress those horses get put under. She doesn't do much with her horses. She plays with them at liberty like she would with a dolphin. She allows them to be fully expressive. She doesn't ride them, and she just has a great time with them. But she says, I don't know how you do it. You're working with these people that want to ride a horse, but they really don't want to connect with or understand what the horse is going through. And then it was about that time where it kind of hit me. I said to her, I think maybe I'm just some kind of a bridge between the old world and the new world. Maybe there's some purpose in that for me. I can just take somebody who's semi-interested in learning about the horse, help them have a good experience with their horse, and gradually lead them to a place where they're more aware. Maybe that's a fun job, and it has become a fun job. And sometimes we get these students who are really aware and want to go deep, and we go there with them. We've been there, so we can take them there. And and sometimes we have people that are fairly shallow and they just want to learn how to do the next thing and get the flying lead change. And have a little pause where like, is this okay? And then I look at the horses and go, yeah, it is actually okay. Do you know that rodeo horses are some of the, oh, and this doesn't go full circle all the way around to every horse, but many rodeo companies that own horses and ship them around the country for rodeos, they have the best life, apart from about 8 seconds where they've got a bucking strap strapped around their flank. But their life is in the family, in the herd. They're fed well. They have great vet care. I know that it's not everywhere. It's like the racing industry. It's not, there's a lot of horror shows out there where horses are not treated well. But what we often think is that it's universal, and it's not. Some horses that have really tough jobs have really great lives. So I start looking for that now. As a teacher, I look at someone, they say, "Can I teach my horse flying lead changes?" And I say, "Well, yeah, and maybe it'd be really great to teach your horse flying lead changes. Let's have a look at the rest of it, though. How's your relationship with a horse? What's his life like? Does he have turnout? Does he have a place to be? Does he have friends? Does he have good food, good health care?" Then yeah, I think flying lead changes is it's like taking your kid, putting them in grade school and saying, "This is going to be good for you. It's not going to be fun all the time, but it's going to be good for you." I'm at that point now where I can see the stress and not feel horrible about it and continue working through and ultimately add value to people who want to learn more and go deeper.
And you're adding value to the horses' lives.
Yeah.
You said you discovered that maybe you are that bridge of what was and what is we're now transitioning into. Laura and I often refer to it, and so do a lot of others, as the paradigm shift in the horses world. And people are taking notice of their emotional well-being and their nervous system and how that plays out in everything from how you keep them, in the herd and turnout and good food and stimulation, and to how you ask them to perform with you or partner up with you. And so it sounds like that was kind of you had to cross that bridge first
Yeah. Yeah.
before you were even aware that there was a bridge.
Yeah.
But you're doing a lot for people, but you're also doing so much for the horses. And I just keep having this burning question. I'm not really sure how to formulate it. So I might just throw the word out there for you
Go for it.
and let you define it in your own terms. What does leadership for horses mean to you?
Let's see. Which aspect of this shall we dive down?
Dive where you want to dive, my friend.
Well, you're not a leader if you don't have a follower. That's fundamentally true. If if you're a friend, you're not necessarily a leader. But if you stand above and your horse stands below, metaphorically speaking, and follows the direction you give, then you are a leader. So if the horse isn't following your direction, you need to up your leadership skills, essentially on a fundamental level. Um, Leadership takes all kinds of emotional aspects, physical traits. Great leader has a plan. All of those things we dive into. But most basic level, if your horse isn't following you, then we need to up your leadership skills. We need to make you something somebody would follow. And we might have to improve your hand rope skills, your eye hand coordination skills, your speed. We might have to improve your empathy skills so that your horse has a better time with you and has an easier time following you because you're kinder. You might have to improve your firmness skills because you're too kind and now you don't get anything done and you're trying to be a friend instead of a leader. The question some people have is can you be a friend and a leader? And the answer is yes, you absolutely can be a friend and a leader, but you can't, in my experience, and I hope I'm wrong about this one day, but you can't become a leader by being a friend.
I
You
agree.
can, you have to at some point step into a leadership role that says you will respond to me. You must respond to me. And friends can switch leaders. Like my friend and I on the phone, we can talk and he'll lead the conversation, then I'll lead the conversation. But, and you can have that kind of relationship with your horse as well. But ultimately, at some point, you have to say, and now I take the lead and you must follow. And that requires a certain set of skills, empathy, the willingness to be firm at the right time. That's ultimately why I shifted teaching the 7 games in that sequence to teaching in a different sequence where we teach boundaries first. Or in the Parelli, they call it a yo-yo game, but we teach you to back the horse away and just step to the side, left and right. And we teach the driving games first so that your horse is responsive to you. And then we bond with the horse so that your horse likes you and trusts you. But if you build on trust and like first, and the response level is low, you actually lose an enormous amount of leadership with your horse. They can be really close together. They can all be in one session, but one's got to come first if you want leadership. And it's got to take a priority in situations where it's needed. And so if you fail to do boundaries, then you're going to fail as a leader. And then if you fail to do bonding, you're going to fail as a good leader, like an empathetic, nice leader. Try to.
That's beautiful, Don. I love everything. I'm definitely gonna re-listen to this a few times because you sure covered a lot of important aspects of a leader and a leader worthy of following, and a leader that's not. And I love the fact that you're putting boundaries first because with the people that I teach and the horses that I work with, that lack of boundaries, until you can get some of that worked out, you don't really have anywhere to go, And
Yeah.
so many people struggle with those boundaries because they're afraid that their horse isn't going to like them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fact that you're using, the terms that you used and the way you explained leadership and the need for boundaries and then bonding, and that you can't be you can't be a friend first and then a leader, but you can be a leader and then a friend.
Yeah.
I also see that in parenting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You have to be the parent first before you can be the friend, but you always want to be that friend.
Yeah.
But there's that boundary. So
Yeah.
in all of our conversation today, Don, what really stands out to me is how important balance is in everything we do.
I
You
think,
were over here and then you're kind of like, and then you went way over here and you're like, and then
yeah.
you
Yeah.
found, so I always think of the pendulum or those old
Yeah.
scales,
Yeah.
that had the
Yeah.
two trays and you had to put,
Hmm.
it's really, it's really a lot about balance.
Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever looked at your horse and wondered if they're thriving in your care? Is there more you can do to give them the best life possible? Most ranches and boarding facilities are set up for convenience, not horse health, but there's tons you can do to fix your horse's situation if you're willing to get creative. Join Evidence-Based Horsekeeping, my Facebook group where members learn how to improve the mental and physical well-being of their horses. The link is in the show notes.
You are 1,000% right, with one sticky, shitty caveat.
Oh, cool.
And that's that you can't often find balance until you explore the extremes.
Oh,
Totally.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's like it's got to have this willingness to fail and feel silly and feel wrong and even sad. Like look at some of the horses. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry I did that to you. Like if I'd known better, I would have slowed down. I would have caused this whole experience to be nicer for you. But I didn't know better. And the only reason I didn't know better because I was exploring the space And now I know better. And to be able to look back at that and cringe a little, but also be grateful for it.
Right.
I'm glad I explored.
You wouldn't be where you are today
Yeah.
had you not had those really shitty, ugh, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, what I see in my clients, can you get your horse to stand still on the end of a lead rope? Sometimes that's hard. While I get underneath them and work.
Yeah.
Is there, if you haven't explored those extremes, you don't have clarity within yourself about where, like, you don't have your own boundaries about how you communicate with your horse and where you're willing to go.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
you don't have those, then everything gets really muddy and really messy
Yeah.
in your communication and your clarity. And then that just becomes a stream down to the horse where things are really messy. And my clients who are like, I have clients that are extremely soft, extremely, what you would say on the leading edge of the paradigm shift. And I have clients that are hardcore horsemanship.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bop you if you step a toe out of line.
Yeah. Sure.
And those horses that are on the extremes are like the client with the clarity has the horse that's the most relaxed because they understand the boundaries of what they're in. And those clients that are struggling with where they're going to fall within that, the horse is like, what's going on? I don't know who's going to show up today. I don't know how this is going to
Yeah.
be. And they struggle more.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. Boundaries are critical. Trying to help someone set boundaries with kindness and firmness is tough.
Yeah.
You're trying to help people that are timid, or you're trying to help people that are too aggressive. And I find that nuance really challenging and fun as a teacher. It's incredibly fun for me to work with the nuance. I used to teach clinics in a level one, two, three fashion, like let's do a level one clinic or a level two clinic. Now I teach a clinic where all levels are welcome and encouraged to come. And I love the challenge because I have to set a tone for how we're going to learn and how everybody will progress regardless of their skill set or their horse's skill set and level of horsemanship. And I find that nuance a lot of fun to
mhm.
take that person that has very little leadership skills or boundary skills and grow them, and someone who has very little bonding skills and grow them. And then usually in my clinics, we do a group session in the morning where everybody gets exposure to all this. And then in the afternoon, they get private time. So they do progress at their own level. If you're working on flying lead changes, you're going to get help. If you're working on just leading your horse around or getting into a horse trailer, you can get help with that too. I find it fun, and I didn't used to because I was so tied into what the horse was feeling and maybe a little righteous about it. Like it's just wrong what we're putting our horses through. And now I'm much more relaxed about that. And I'm like, it's not wrong. If your horse has got a great life and for 1 hour out of the day you bring them out to expose them to some schooling, there's no harm in that. And I can teach you where the harm is. Like maybe don't do 100 circles. Maybe you're going to get repetitive stress on their joints. So maybe don't be that firm because it was overfaced. Your horse didn't need that much. Maybe be firmer because your horse isn't paying attention. And I love that. I find that really enjoyable now.
So, Don, do you ride now?
Professionally, yes. Personally, I ride with my wife because she absolutely loves riding. She's never lost that flame for being on a horse and going places. So I'll join her on those rides often. But on a personal level, no. For me to just want to go out and get on a horse, very rare. It's a professional experience for me. Uh, but I love having them. I love having horses in my life. I love having them around. But the experience of needing to be on their back. Sometimes I get this question and I answer with a more generic answer, like I've been there, bought the t-shirt, bought the hat. There's not a single thing you can think of that I haven't done or explored with a horse in my career. from packing into the mountains to high school maneuvers and tempi lead changes and half passes and pirouettes to jumping 4-foot fences through a course and competing. Um, there's there's not much I haven't explored and experienced. There's always something. Like I never got really deep into driving carriages and that kind of thing. I've done it. I just never went and dove full into that side of horsemanship. But and I've never played polo. I can say that. I have never played polo. I've swung a polo mallet in play, but I've never actually competed or played in the games. But there's not much I haven't done. So there's part of me that's like, I remember being a teenager saying, writing a list, an entire list of things I wanted to do with horses. And I've checked all those boxes. So now the fun is in the teaching and the nuance. And I sometimes feel I'm a little young for this part of my career because I look at people who I aspired to be like, and they were in their 70s and 80s and still teaching. Like Ray Hunt, when I met him, was a couple of years away from the big nap, and Walter Zettel was the same. And these people that I'm like, of course they're not writing; they can barely get around, but they're still teaching, and that inspired me. And here I am finding myself. I do ride. I ride professionally. Someone sends me a colt for colt starting. Um, but on a personal level, I'm very comfortable not climbing up on a horse. And I feel like I'm a little like maybe I should be 70 before I make that kind of decision. But it's not really a decision so much as a desire.
Mhm.
My desire is in giving you the skills, the nuanced skills to be effective. And from the beginning, it was always that. Like, it's just that's the highlight now.
I find it really interesting that the horse industry is so locked onto age and years of experience.
Yeah.
And I came in through horse rescue and clocked it immediately. These people would show up at the horse rescue and be like, "Well, I've been doing this for 20 years, so get out of my way, little Padawan." And
Yeah.
they'd go out there and push the horse into fight or flight and just traumatize the horse for half an hour and leave and be like, "I helped a rescue horse today." And I was standing
Oh,
there with
yeah.
my poop fork,
Yeah.
like, what in the heck did I just witness?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about horses, but I know that was probably not good. And it's so
Yeah.
interesting that someone as far along in your career still feels that. And it's like, no, what have you done in your short, not that short, your 30-year career?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really good for horses. Oh, you recognized a huge bit of nuance and are teaching it.
Yeah. Yeah. I looking for pictures the other day, Cindy, to send you, and I don't know if I sent you one, but wasn't a very good one anyway, if I did send it to you. But there's a photo that I want on my website. I just have got to get a good one so it looks good. That kind of highlights what I feel like I am in my career right now. And it's me standing in the arena with a group of students and I'm holding a muck rake.
Yeah,
Like
no, you need
that's
to send me that one, Don.
that's what I feel like is the most important place for me to be right now. Like I'll clean up the crap. I'll come behind your horse and pick it up and move it to the side of the arena. And I'm gonna spend my time invested in you. And I'm doing these clinics and sometimes the students will say, "Oh, let me grab that. Let me grab the rake and pick that up." I'm like, "No, let me pick it up. I like this part. I'm moving around the arena. I'm talking to different people. I'm cleaning the place up. I'm making it tidy and neat." And that's what I'm doing for you and your horse too when I'm out there. I'm not trying to win the day. That's the other thing. I used to think you could take a horse and fix a problem and then move on and progress up this ladder of skills really quickly or as quickly as the horse would allow. And now I'm more like, let's make this a great time for the horse and for you. And let's stop putting the stress of we have to be somewhere in the next month. If that's your goal set, then I can still help you, but I don't need to push you for that. Well, I can let you take your own time. I have clients now who are starting their own horses, climbing up on their own horses, and they're in their 60s, and their horses are only 2 or 3 years old. And I love it. The horses are safe. They're safe. They're going about a tenth of the speed that I'm capable of as a professional, and I love it. Like, great, let's take a look in a couple of months, see where we've been. It's amazing how we can make progress in a slow, safe, kind way. The horses are having a great time. You're having a great time.
I'm
Are you
just
Yeah.
putting,
so
oh, go ahead.
I'm so excited about this movement of owners starting their own horses. I'm so excited about it because when you have started your own horse, you know everything that that horse knows. There is no
Yeah.
question between the two
Yeah.
of you about your skills and your, like, that's how I started. I was a poor college student who got the
Yeah.
opportunity to start a horse, an
Yeah.
Arabian who
Yeah.
was way too much horse for me. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I better get
Yeah.
on board and figure this out
Yeah.
quickly. And having had that experience, I never want a different experience. But 10 years ago, even, that was considered insane. And now it's catching on. And it's just, I'm so excited that owners want that level of involvement and empowerment with their horses.
Yeah. Yeah. I still wrestle with some clients and in my own, like, maybe it's okay for me to take someone horse and help them. We have three horses in training right now, and we feel good about it. We're helping the horses, and the client is very, we pick them, we hand pick them so they're the right
Mhm.
kind of client for us. But I almost always discourage it. I'm almost always saying, look, I can do this, but you can do it too. And they say, no, I couldn't do the first ride. That's too scary. I'm like, you're overthinking it. The first ride is not cantering around the arena. The first ride is climbing on and then immediately off bareback at the mounting block. Like, that's your first ride. And you can see that the gap that you talk about where the human brain is like, no, the first ride is what I saw Buck Brannaman do, and or Ray Hunt. I saw a video of Ray Hunt, and it was 30 minutes he was in the arena doing X, Y, and Z. I'm like, no, no, that is not the first ride. The
And when
first
you
ride.
look at it, that horse did it. That very compliant horse did it. But when you can see those nuanced stress signals,
Yeah.
that horse was not having a great time.
No, true. True.
Like,
And furthermore, as a professional, I hate to give out all the secrets, but we don't film and show you a lot of the crap. We show you the good stuff on
That's
video and
called,
social media. We don't show you the failures. Occasionally, as the students get a little more involved, we're more comfortable showing you failures to show you that like this is real and this does happen. But that's like if Ray Hunt had filmed 10 horses in a row, he would actually only show one of them, the most compliant, the most willing, the most quiet. And that's the reality of it. So we get this confused idea of starting a horse and what it should be like. And it shouldn't be like that. It should be slow and quiet, and you should take months, if not a year, to be walking around on your horse, and maybe I could do it sooner than that, sure, but you might need that much time. Your horse might need that much time. And I've had horses as a professional who's very, very good. I've had horses that have challenged me that still like he's not giving me green lights. And I've had him for 6 weeks and he's still not giving me green lights. So I have to keep establishing the leadership and the bond until I get those green lights.
and having the client that's willing to accept that. And that's probably
Yeah.
what you're doing in your vetting as well, is because
Yeah.
there's so many, God, I run into them all the time, like I want somebody that'll put 30 or 60 or 90 days on my horse. And I'm like, that's so not the right approach for you to be taking. And how can I help you without making you feel wrong? How can I help educate you that you want a horse of a lifetime? Give the horse your lifetime. Give
Yeah.
him the time that he needs, and
Yeah.
you will get that. But if you're looking for that quick fix, you're going to have a train wreck eventually.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
going to have a horse that's not authentic, not safe, not confident. But I have one last question for you.
Okay.
As a professional, what is the legacy you want to leave in this world of horses?
that's harder to answer right off the bat than I originally thought. 5 years ago, I would have said I want to write the horse version of Moby Dick. You ever read Herman Melville's Moby Dick? Do you know what the story is about?
No, all I know is the man's in the wells. Is
No,
not true?
no, you're thinking of Jonah and the whale.
Okay.
But Moby Dick is a story about a man who becomes obsessed with hunting down a big white whale.
Mm,
And it's set in a timeline where all of the world's crude oil came from whale oil. And we weren't pulling oil out of the ground at that time. We were whaling. There was a massive whaling industry. And I work in the Northeast and I've been to the Whaling Museum in Massachusetts. It's extraordinary to see the world of Herman Melville's Moby Dick. Like it was a real world. Big ships going out, hunting down whales, bringing back the oil, and then supplying the world with their lamp oil and all kinds of stuff. Massive, massive industry. And when you read Moby Dick, you don't know why this story is so important. But when you get the peripheral history of it, you realize why he wrote it. And the man who wrote it, a man named Herman Melville, um, died kind of broke and penniless. And his book is like, I don't want to misquote it, but it's one of the most printed books in the world, like close to the Bible, or like if not close, really close to second. It's extraordinarily well distributed book. And he died almost penniless. I mean, he didn't get much from it. It ruined his career, actually. He was a wonderful writer, and I think he ended up working as like a customs agent at some port. And he could have been famous and wealthy. And he became very, very famous later. But the book highlights the cruelty of whaling.
mm,
And it also captures it in a romantic kind of way too. It's if you read it with that lens, what he was actually trying to do, and this was his intention, to open people's eyes to what whaling was doing. And he actually went out on the whaling ships. He did the work. And he said it was so romantic and so wonderful and so horrific to watch these whales be destroyed for their oil. And he wrote this incredible story that takes you on the journey. You go on the journey with him through this book, and you end up seeing the world through the whale's eyes
mm.
and through this man who is obsessed with hunting down this one whale that he believes is just this horrible menace, and the relationship they build through this story. Ultimately, the whale wins. And well, kind of nobody wins, but they tie it up nicely. And it exposed the whaling industry. The book did. This wonderful story exposed the entire industry, and it ruined him, ruined his career. And I thought for years I would write that story somehow with horses and expose the horse industry. I don't know if I want to do that now. I don't even know if I can do that if I had the skills. He was an extraordinary writer, but I love writing and I love books and I would love to leave a legacy of people diving deeper into the horse psychology and having a more balanced relationship with their horses. But I also don't want to take horses. I don't want to expose the industry in a way that makes people stop wanting horses.
Right.
And there's a weird balance there.
Mhm.
And so I would still love to write great stories and leave people with these inspiring elements of horsemanship and relationship and leadership, but I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to expose all the magic. You know when you learn a magic trick and then you're like, kind of dies. It's not mysterious anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to take the magic out of horse-human relationships. And if it takes a little bit of ignorance, a little bit of, maybe you don't know what your horse is going through, but does he have a good life otherwise? Maybe that's okay. And I don't want to ruin that for people. And it wouldn't benefit horses much either if people stopped investing in horses. Even if you do it in an ignorant way, you don't know what it's doing to the industry or to the horses every time you buy a horse. It's still benefiting horses and people. So I'm careful about that. So I can't say exactly what that legacy is now, except I just want to inspire people to be smarter, more educated, and have a happier time with their horse going forward. And so horses have a good life and people do too.
Well, it's pretty worthy
Pretty big.
cause there, my friend. I think you just defined that paradigm shift we're all trying to be a part of in the horses world, is to just, that old saying, you don't know what you don't know, until
Yeah.
you know it. And how can we help as many people who are ready to broaden their knowledge of horses and what they're experiencing. And I think, part of that is helping people to become more aware of their selves, because
Yeah, sure.
I think a lot of us are attracted to horses because of how they make us feel, and often what they mirror for us, our strengths and our weaknesses. So for us
Yeah.
to be able to find our own unique way of helping them, it circles back to the relationship.
Yep.
If we
You
can
nailed it.
help them understand that really what makes them attracted to horses is the way that they feel, and the way that they feel only happens because they're open to the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, like you're doing, is you're being that bridge. It's an important bridge.
It's huge.
Yeah. So maybe a little bit of ignorance is okay. And then growing a little bit of knowledge. And then once you get the knowledge, remembering that it's okay for other people to not have that knowledge yet and still be having goals that are trivial and don't really serve the horse and kind of playing both sides of that until we can all sort of meet together in the middle somewhere.
And with that ignorance, I would love for people to have a little bit of an intuitive feel, okay, you may be ignorant, but how does it feel? Because we know if you're awake at all, whenever you're in the presence of another, you can get a feel of how they are.
Yeah,
And
sure.
if you are the cause of that feeling,
Yeah.
then that's the time you can't turn a blind eye and be ignorant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I think our job is to slowly bring awareness to things that are important for the horse's experience and yours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Don, thank you so much. This has been an awesome time. I appreciate you taking the time out to spend with us.
you're welcome. My pleasure.
So if you have any questions about the topics covered in this episode, send us a message on our Facebook page, Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry, and we will answer your question in a post on our page. You will be anonymous. We'll just take the question and provide our input, and we want to do it on the post so that we can all learn and grow together, because nobody knows everything. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. We want to remind you that we'll be here every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, following the golden rule. Have a plan, but always be willing to be flexible. Don't forget to connect with us using the links in the show notes below.
If you learned something new today, had an aha, or walked away with a valuable nugget, you can say thanks by leaving us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on.